Welcome, Pewter Report readers and listeners, to another edition of the Pewter Report podcast, Energized by Celsius, a Friday special edition here on the Pewter Report podcast, Energized. Oh, yeah, you've got your strawberry guava. I've got my strawberry guava, Celsius. We'll talk about that on the podcast today, too. But we also got a big extension to talk about, Taylor Jenkins,
yes,
who's along with me today. Tom Brady extension. We've got a Kevin Minter re-signing. We've got a Shaq Barrett social media response that ups the intrigue, baby. We are jam-packed on a Friday, and that's all before we even shred to bits your Bucs offseason plan, our battle plan for the offseason, and get all your bad takes out. No, I'm just kidding.
Nothing to shred. Nothing to shred.
I was going to say it's not that controversial of a piece, but we'll find a few things. I found a few things to get after Matt for yesterday. If you haven't listened to the show from yesterday, Matt and I had a lot to talk about as well with Levante David re-signing and other stuff. So make sure you check that out as well. Dylan Foote says, answer my effing DM on Twitter, John, and he spells my name with an H. Good way to get people to answer your Twitter DMs is to spell their names correctly. That's a good first step. But Dylan, I will look for your Twitter DM. Sorry, there's a lot that I haven't responded to recently. Been a little bit busy around these parts as the Bucs are doing a lot right now that keeps us hopping. So we'll have that all to discuss on the show today, Taylor. Excited about that. And it's all brought to you by our friends over at Celsius. Celsius powers active lives every day with essential functional energy, and strawberry guava might do it better than any other flavor, Taylor Jenkins.
How good is it?
I can't believe how good it is, dude. I put one in the fridge as soon as they came to my door, pop one in there, cracked it open to try just to get a taste last night. Oh, my goodness, dude. Game-changing flavor, strawberry guava. If you haven't tried it and you're a Celsius fan, I'm telling you, you got to try strawberry guava. It is awesome. Remember, zero sugar, none. Great energy, accelerates your metabolism, burns body fat. So it's great for you. It tastes great, and there's no sugar. There's not the letdown either with other energy drinks. I mean, you've seen it probably as you've seen Celsius' brand kind of blow up nationally over the past month or two. They are on to something really special here, folks. They really are. And so check it out. Try it. I'm telling you, Celsius Live Fit, the sparkling strawberry guava. Oh, my. It might be number one, Taylor. I mean, yeah, it's tough, but it might be number one.
As you and the listeners know, if you've heard me on before, I've been drinking Celsius for a long time. I've been drinking it way before they sponsored the podcast. So I've been a big Celsius fan for a long time. I'm a Celsius vet, long-term fan. But we've had many discussions about our favorite flavors, and they sent us these. I had never tried the strawberry guava. And so I threw one in the fridge. I was going to the gym. I cracked it open, and that's when I texted you guys yesterday. And I said, man, this has rapidly, shot directly up. If it's not my favorite flavor, it's near there. It's pretty perfect. It's a lot like the Taylor Jenkins Bucs Battle Pass of Celsius energy drinks. It's just hard to top.
Wow. Yeah, so find your store locator on Celsius.com and you can figure out where to get your sparkling strawberry guava, or you can just go on Amazon and get the variety pack and all that stuff. So, yeah, we're excited. Today's a great show because Tom Brady is going to be a Tampa Bay Buccaneer through 2022. Taylor, let's go, baby. Let's go. Sorry if that was.
I'm actually convinced he's going to be there through 2032. He's just going to keep signing extensions, and he's just going to play till he's like 63. 64, why not?
Very possible.
Just keep going.
So, yes, I think that Tom Brady being back kind of locks things in a little bit for the Bucs. Okay, so this year, doubt the ripple effect, obviously, other than having the GOAT. Sorry, I leaned away from the microphone. I'm amped up on a Friday. I didn't even drink any of this yet either. So it is that you probably are out of the quarterback market for this offseason, and that's fine with me because at 32 – you were going to probably be reaching for a guy anyway, so not a big deal to me. The other ripple effect part of it is that continuity, $19 million of cap space cleared for this offseason. You push some money down the road a little bit with the Brady and the void years. I think there's 3 void years on the contract. Do not ask me what a void year is. I have no freaking clue. The only thing I know about the void year, Taylor, is that it basically means $19 million cap cleared off the books this year. Tom Brady cap hit minimal this year. More room for Shaq Barrett, more room for Rob Gronkowski, more room for Ndamukong Suh, and they still can do things like restructure Ali Marpet, extend Ryan Jensen, extend longer term, bigger money, Donovan Smith, Carlton Davis. There's things like that they can do. Carlton Davis wouldn't clear a lot of money this year, but to extend him. But all things that you can do to set yourself up to win down the road for the Bucs right now.
Yeah, I mean, if you've ever thought the salary cap is a myth, I think you have a case for it. But obviously the salary cap is not a myth. It's a real thing that teams have to navigate. Some do that better than others. And now, I mean, what are voidable years? You can just sign him to
it's a myth.
It's like we're just going to take Tom Brady and we're going to sign him to an 8-year contract, but the last 6 don't count. And we're only going to pay him, for 3 years. And he's only going to get paid 17 cents and a handful of leftover Taco Bell packets this year. So we can sign Shaq Barrett. It's like, I don't know what they're doing. Mike Greenberg is actually a wizard. I don't really know how he does it, but somehow he finds a way. And the Bucs have done this unbelievable job of building this really young core where you have all your entire secondary basically on rookie contracts. They built the roster the right way, where you built a strong core through successful drafts, and then you take glaring needs and you don't try and just force picks in the draft, and you go and you see a lot of teams that go, oh, we need that. You see it with the Bucs last year. Oh man, we really needed a running back, and all of a sudden we traded 2 4th-round picks, so we've got to reach on Keyshawn Vaughn. But you see teams do that with quarterbacks, like you were saying. If the Bucs go after a quarterback this year, if they were in dire need of one, you're landing with a guy like Kyle Trask at 32. Right. I'm not saying he's a bad quarterback, but you're reaching for it. And so instead of doing that with the draft, they built their core that way. And their core's homegrown. And then you go look at glaring needs. Edge rushers. They trade for one in Jason Pierre-Paul. They add one through free agency in Shaq Barrett. You need a quarterback. You add that in free agency. You need a center. You need another defensive tackle. You add those in free agency. And they've done a phenomenal job of doing that. And that young core has allowed them, I think, in guys that are happy to be here. Mike Evans not only set the kind of market, they signed him early so that they aren't paying him $30 million right now. Amari Cooper's getting $20 million because he signed it last year. But you get those deals done. You get those extensions done, and guys are happy to be there. They're willing to take a little less money. Cam Brate took less money last year. Mike Evans is going to ultimately probably restructure his contract about 14 times before he retires as a Tampa Bay Buck. So the way they've built this team has just been unbelievable, and the salary cap management is just otherworldly.
Right. Really good week for Bucs fans. I mean, Levante coming back, Kevin Minter coming back. We didn't even mention that. Tom Brady, obviously, getting extended for another year. And maybe the best part, Chris Godwin on the franchise tag. Maybe the best part, Taylor, I thought Shaq Barrett's response to Tom Brady's tweet or the Instagram post or whatever it was about coming back. Tom Brady said, pursuit of 8. Some of those emojis, I'm tough, I'm big, all that kind of stuff. And then Shaq Barrett chimed in with where he said, we're keeping this band together. And Shaq Barrett gave him the yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Like, yes, sir. Okay, hold up. This sounds like there's been some chatting going on. I think some people know some things. I think it's just a matter of time. So that was actually probably the biggest thing, Taylor, that gave me hope. Not that I've doubted really that Shaq Barrett will be back, but I've said before, I think it's going to be into free agency. He's going to want to hit the market.
You question how it's going to happen.
Exactly right. Financially speaking, I don't think you can really argue with Shaq Barrett. Like the best thing for him to do would be to hit the market, I think.
Yeah.
But he might want to be back in Tampa Bay, and they might give him a great offer. And guess what? What's the difference? I mean, you might get a little bit more on the market, but is it really that big a deal if you're getting paid, if you're making 19, 20 type a year, $1 million a year type of deal with the Bucs? And so that might be where we're at with the Shaq Barrett thing. But his response to Brady like that really made me feel like he feels like it's just a matter of fine-tuning the details to be back in Tampa Bay. You don't see that, with that level of confidence very often. So that was a big indicator to me. Toby Valora.
One thing that's so interesting is how much guys seem to want to be here. I mean, this has been such a losing franchise for so long, but it almost
it's crazy. Like everybody wants to be
in
in Tampa now.
That it's like a first-class organization. You look at this team, like a Steelers, like a Patriots, where guys they're so ultimately bought in. And this isn't just guys, who have been with the team. This isn't just the Godwins and the Evans and the Levantes who say, I love being here and I want to stay here and I love the organization. This is guys who come here for a year. Tom Brady's been here a year. Gronk's been here a year. And Ndamukong Suh's been here 2. Shaq Barrett's been here 2. Jason Pierre-Paul's been here 3. And they all, it just seems like they're so willing to buy in and be – man, I'm juiced up today. I'm just rambling. I'm going off.
I'm telling you. No,
I got Celsius in my veins.
Listen, it's a good thing, man. This is a great organization right now. A lot of people want to be here. They're in a window where the next 2 years they should absolutely be competing for Super Bowls, especially if they can get Shaq back. And we're going to be hopefully excited about that on a later show for sure. We do want to move to the battle plan a little bit. Toby Valora, funny comment. Scruff Ledyard is greater than clean-shaven Ledyard. I was scruff this week. I am clean-shaven. This morning, actually, I had a handlebar mustache going on. It was freaking out my wife a little bit. Sometimes, time to time, I just like to change things up, see how repulsed she is by me. She was pretty repulsed is the answer, in case you were wondering. And then Toby also adds Taylor's cat, Taylor Jenkins battle plan. Taylor's cat greater than Taylor's battle plan. I love it. Toby Valor bringing the heat on a Friday. There's no settling down here. $10 super chat. Remember super chats? They're back. Eric Colson's bringing them back. $10 super chat. Taylor, I expect your battle plan to include Marlon Mack, Rodney Adams, Austin Ryder, Ryder, I don't know, and to draft KJ Sales in the 5th. Anything else is unsatisfactory. Eric, I see the all caps. The all caps Rodney Adams there because he knows there's a personal dig at me who wasn't a big Rodney Adams fan coming out of college. Sad to say. Andrew Epp says Ledyard's plan, all other plans. Thank you, Andrew. Smart man right there. I'm sorry for what I'm doing to people's volumes right now. I'm just amped up kind of day. It really is. That's where we're at, Taylor. We get to Friday. We know this podcast is the only thing between me and more work and more tape watching. But I can't wait.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
I can't wait. All right. Your plan for the offseason, the Taylor Jenkins 2021 plan for the Bucs offseason. Wide receiver Chris Godwin on the franchise tag. Wow, what a prediction. Levante David re-signed. Wow, what a prediction. No, I'm kidding. He has Shaq Barrett coming back. For me. And Ndamukong Suh coming back. Rob Gronk coming back. Suckup coming back. Ross Cockrell coming back. But no Antonio Brown. Matt Matera, the only Pewter Report staffer to have Antonio Brown coming back, but all for a variety of reasons so far. What is your reasoning, Taylor?
I think that despite his off-the-field issues, I know he had that little incident in his gated community before the Bucs signed him, but Antonio Brown showed this year that if he may not be in the middle of his prime. Antonio Brown in his prime, was arguably the best player, the best wide receiver in the league. It was really kind of him.
Wasn't arguable, but
Julio Jones. Yeah, it was like, you a Pittsburgh guy. But really,
listen, I watched him. I'm telling you, if Julio was better, he wasn't.
It was. I think the only 3 guys that at any point in his career really, can make a case are really like, Megatron at the tail end, Julio, maybe Odell Beckham Jr. for a few years. They were the guys, and he's still shown that while he may not be smack dab in the middle of his prime, it's not like he's out of it. He was out of football for a year. He had some incidents, but he stayed in football shape quite clearly. He stepped on the field, and at times it looked like he never stepped off of it. With that said, I think that there is going to be a team that offers him a larger contract than the Bucs are going to want to pay him. He might be stuck with another situation with another team where it's 1 year, where it's incentive laden. I think that if he's willing to take $2 million, $3 million with some incentives in there for touchdowns and playing time and playoff stuff, I think, you could have that offer. But I just have trouble seeing a team like Seattle. I know they're interested, not giving him. And then it comes down to, am I going to take the 1 year contract with the Bucs where it's, $2-3 million, it could be $5 million, or am I going to take the 1 or 2 year offer? It's getting me 8, 9, 10 per with a team like Seattle. And I think it's a possibility he comes back, but it's if the money's right.
Okay. All right. That's what I think basically, but I do think that somebody else could be able to throw a little bit more at him. But maybe ultimately he believes the situation matters. I don't know. I mean, he's 33. I don't know what his priorities are at this point. He's already made a ton of money. I mean, so maybe he doesn't care as much about.
It's like I know. He wants to play with Tom Brady, but do you want to take $2 million and play with Tom Brady and maybe get a ring, or take $8 million? It's a real. I mean, it's
especially if it's like if Seattle's like 2 years.
Yeah, 2 years,
$6
million.
Even if it's 3 guaranteed, and the Bucs are giving 1 year 3. Well, if you behave yourself, you're going to get all $6 million, and so it's double. And I don't know, So anyway, that's my thought process on the AB thing. But it's very possible he's back. It's obviously very possible he's back. No one's ruling that out. I think even though 4 or 5 of us went that way, I don't think any of us are saying there's a strong chance he's not back. I think there's a very good chance he's back. It's just not what we decided to do in our plans for the most part. Couple of comments across the board here is Mike Greenberg under 5'5". Stephen Che posted a picture with him earlier, and he looked no taller than 5'5". I don't know how tall he is, but he is not tall. I will say that. I don't want to slander
the man's height. He's dunking on the whole league, even if he is 5'5".
Yeah, he's exactly right. He's dunking on the whole league, so it don't matter. What else? We saw there were some other comments in here. When we first got Tom Brady, I thought 2 years is just not enough. When he's gone, we're back to being paper tigers. Flash Gordon says, I don't know what your opinion on this now is, Flash, but even if that was your opinion at the time, I just really don't think it's the case. Obviously, the quarterback position matters, and what the Bucs do next at the quarterback position does matter. But A, we've got a little bit of time before we have to figure that out, and B, this is a really good roster with a really good guy at top and Jason Light leading the way in acquiring talent. It's a place people want to be. It's become culturally transformed. That's what a Super Bowl does after all those years of losing. I do not think the Bucs are going back in the cellar anytime soon. I think this is a team and a franchise on the rise. Brady's a huge step in that direction. The next quarterback will be big in figuring out where it goes after that. But they are in the right direction, not just a quarterback. This is a really good football team right now. And so I think that really, really matters too. Any more restructures or extensions will take place for the Bucs, Taylor, and then I'll answer this and then we'll get back to your battle plan. But I think that, yes, there will be there. Yeah, exactly. We have to get Taylor's battle plan to work and all of our battle plans and really Jason Light's battle plan to work. There will have to be more restructures and extensions. Yeah. So Brady cleared $19 million in cap space for this season. The Bucs were about 5 over, so that puts them about 14 under the cap right now. Enough room to re-sign Shaq for sure, because remember, his cap this year doesn't have to be 19 to 20 million. It just has to average that. So you've got to try to space things out a little bit, but this year there would be a lower cap hit, but they're not going to be done. I mean, there's other moves to be made. I hate to say it, but cutting Cam Brady is just so obvious to me. I mean, again, I know he's a good player. I know people like him. I'm not saying he doesn't help the team. You cut anybody making $6.5 million, they're probably going to help the team. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying you could ask him to take another pay cut down to $2 million. Maybe that's enough. But if you can get all $6.5 million, that's a huge difference. That's a big call. I mean, that's a decent call, but that's your third tight end. We saw that last year. OJ Howard and Gronk are playing. You could say, what if these guys get hurt? You can do that all day with every position. At the end of the day, you can't pay a third string guy that kind of money. You took $4.5 million last year. On this roster, because they want to bring back, you can't pay a third string tight end $4.5 million. It's gonna have to be changed. I mean, that's what you can get Mercedes Lewis, a better blocker on this team, for $1.5 million probably to win a Super Bowl this year. I mean, there's just a big difference. And I hate to say it, I love Cam Brate too, but at the end of the day, you're not letting go of bad players to re-sign good players. It's probably a solid player, and you're obviously very well positioned to be able to handle his loss, but that's just reality, right, Taylor? What do you have happening with Cam Brate in your battle plan?
I have him taking a pay cut down from 6.5 to 4 or 3.5. $4. So I have him shaving, yes, $4. He is taking 75 cents
probably pay for
and 3 cans of Celsius. Yeah, he probably would. He likes Tampa. He just built a house here. He's lived here for a long time. He's from, Illinois, so I know he loves the warm weather. He'd probably hate to go back to like when he was at Harvard and he's freezing for 6 months of the year. But yeah, I have him taking another pay cut, I think from 6.5 down to 3.5 save. And we're not just talking about a third string tight end, John. We're talking about a guy who led the Bucs in playoff targets up until the Kansas City game.
I know, Taylor, but you can't not every third tight end can be that type of an option, right? At some point you have to cut costs other places, right? To bring everybody back.
Yeah, I definitely think that he is. I even mentioned in my battle plan, while I do restructure, I know he's a very popular name that's floating around, him and Will Golston. I shaved both of their contracts down, their cap hits for this year. But again, if you get rid of Anthony Auclair, if you can get Cam Brate cheap enough, you keep him. I think that's really what it comes down to.
But it would have to be
otherwise
like
you're with
1 to 2 million.
Because otherwise you're down with Tanner Hudson and Anthony Auclair, and nothing against Hudson.
Sign a third string tight end that can block and play, 8 snaps a game and 5 snaps a game.
Yeah,
you could find that for cheap, right? I mean, you just need a blocker, really. If somebody gets hurt, you just need your second tight end to block. It would have to be both your starters getting hurt. In that case, everybody in the league's affected. You can't.
Yeah,
really.
And at that point, you're not expecting OJ or Gronk to go down again. So,
I mean, if one of them goes down, you have the other one, and you have a blocker as your second tight end, and so you could still do what you got to do. It's not going to be the same receiving option, but the Bucs aren't an Eagles Colts type offense where you're going to be flexing out 2 tight ends wide and running them. They're inline guys. Like, you can find inline guys to do what the Bucs needed to do for cheaper. That's all I think. I like Cam Brate a lot. It's just cost efficiency. Where do you spend money and then get the most for it? Now, you mentioned Golston taking a pay cut. To me, that they have less leverage there because their D-line is so up in the air. Even if Sue comes back, Nacho's a free agent, McLennan's a free agent, might retire, maybe probably will retire. So it's open-ended at that point for those guys. You need to get younger and you need to get better pass rushers. Khalil Davis needs a chance to be able to play if they think he has promise. You probably draft a guy at some point. So again, where does he fit? If Golston is if you're going to move on from Golston, well, you're going to count on a young guy stepping in, right? I mean, I don't think Nacho showed that he's an every down guy. Golston's coming off his best year as a pro. So I say all that to say, I just think it's tricky for me. I value Golston. Plus, he's $1 million less than Cam Brate per year. So you're already at 5.5. But I mean, maybe you're right. Maybe a pay cut, and that Golston's fine with that at his age, just to stick around and finish this thing in Tampa.
Yeah, and I think I think Cam Brate's an easier nut to crack as far as cutting money. He's got 3 years left. He wants to be here. But it is an interesting situation. They're both going to be 30 years old when the season hits. Both have birthdays in July. They're going to be 30 years old when they hit. Will Golston has 1 year left, and then he can hit the open market. And I don't think that either of them have ever seen their value higher. So it's a situation where they are both playing good football. Cam Brate, like I said, was leading the team in targets in the playoffs until the Super Bowl. OJ Howard got hurt, so we got a lot of playing time. Will Golston had the best year of his career. So not only are they getting up there in age, but they're in this weird situation where they are probably as valuable as they've ever been. And then you've got to tell them, hey, take less money.
Right. Well, here's the other part of the situation, because you are right that that's a factor. But the other part of the situation is a lot of people want to cut OJ Howard. I get recency bias, right? Cam Brate looked good recently. OJ Howard hasn't been around recently because of the injury. And he's coming off an injury. So I guess I get the reason for skepticism. I'm not saying OJ Howard's going to come back and be, anything special or whatever. But I am saying OJ Howard, what he was doing before he got hurt was very, very good. He was on his trajectory to be one of the better tight ends in the league. Again, in 2018, before he got hurt, he was on his trajectory to be one of the better tight ends in the league. I know it hasn't been rhythmic the way people want it to be. I know 2019 in what I believe is one of the toughest tight end systems in the league, which is the Bucs, because they ask you to do so many things. I mean, these guys, they line in the backfield. You saw it with Cam Brate this past season to lead block at times. Like they line up, they in base, they'll line up on the edge, and you're just blocking a defensive lineman one-on-one a lot of the time. Yeah. Like it's, again, most schemes in the NFL today have some base in zone rushing, and the Bucs really, their tendency tends to be, we're leaving tight end on an island, old school type of running game. And that, even as a good blocker, that took a while for OJ to figure out. So again, there's just a lot for the position. Took him a while. Then he wasn't hurt, healthy. Then he started to get good again at the end of 2019 to make plays. Starts 2020. I thought he looked great. The catch against the Broncos.
Yeah.
You kidding me? Cam Brady ain't doing that.
I think he's extremely talented. I think he's
and
fast.
Tom Brady loves him.
And Tom Brady loves him.
Tom Brady still? Because Tom Brady loves him. He loved AB, brought him in. AB helped. Like Leonard Fournette. I don't think Leonard Fournette was great, but he came in and was better than the other backs at the end of the season. Definitely helped him win. So, I mean, like, at some point, we gotta be realistic about what we're talking about here. I mean, OJ Howard is a young guy who, if he has a dominant year, which he's looked like he could at 2 points before injuries derailed it, and really in 2018, I mean, he was good. He was really good. If he has that type of year again, that could be a guy that you look to sign after the season, even depending on what happens with Gronk and his contract. That I'm just saying that possibility exists. It does not exist with Cam Brate. It doesn't.
No, it doesn't. And I agree.
They're different. Plus, OJ Howard is a blocker, way better than Cam Brate, especially the way he was blocking at the beginning of the year. The other thing about OJ Howard is his option is fully guaranteed for injury. So if the Bucs wanted to cut him, which they do not, and they are not going to, I don't believe, if they wanted to do that, they would have to prove he was 100% healthy right now, or his contract would be guaranteed when they cut him. They probably can't prove that right now with an Achilles injury. So that's the other thing, is that like they wouldn't save money if they cut OJ Howard right now. They would have to basically prove, oh, he's fully healthy, he's fine, his injury's not an issue, we're cutting him anyway. I don't think they can do that right now. So that throws another wrench into things, and that's something that probably a lot of fans maybe don't know about with that. Brady loves Brate. Sure, he loves Brady. He also chewed Brate out in the first round of the playoffs against Washington because Brate didn't keep working on his route. I mean, he'll do that with everybody. I'm not saying he doesn't like Brate. He does like Brate. Tom Brady's not an idiot. He understands.
I think Brady loves everyone.
OJ Howard is different, folks. He's different.
If you're going to go around
about consistency, but he's really talented. You got to take a chance.
If you're going to go down the roster and be like, you could point it at some scenario where it's like, oh, Tom Brady loves him. Like Tom Brady loves OJ, and Tom Brady loves Gronk, and Tom Brady loves Cam, and Tom Brady loves Mike, and Tom loves Chris, and Tom loves AB. Tom loves everyone. So like that just can't be like, at some point, it just can't be the sole deciding factor. Like Brady loves every weapon he has, except for maybe Cyril Grayson.
Right.
And I don't think he still has him anymore.
And if you cut it, I mean, again, I just laid out why you really can't cut OJ. But if you did, like, it's like, okay, well, what are you going to do? Gronk goes down. Who's going to block? You know, like, I mean, you'd have to find again. You'd have to be a number 3 tight. Yeah, we don't have Joe Haig anymore. So, you know, anyway, we digress here. But that's kind of the scenario right now with the tight end position for the Bucs. I think Cam is. I don't know. I don't know how they keep him. Maybe he does take $1 to $2 million. We'll see. It's a lot to be decided still for sure. Suckup coming back. You have Suckup coming back. What was your rate for Suckup? Do you remember? What did you bring Ryan Suckup back at per year?
2 years, $6 million. So $3 million per.
Okay, $1 million per. That's reasonable. 2 years, $3 million per. I don't know what your guarantees are. It doesn't matter. But like, you don't want to be signing a 4-year deal with a kicker. Like, no. I told Scott this. He wants to commit to Ryan. He would marry Ryan Suckup right now if he could.
He would,
but that's how he feels about it.
But yeah, I mean, kickers are so high. I mean, even the best kickers, I mean, it can just go bad so quick. And if you're locked into guaranteed money with a kicker in 4 years, and Jason Light's in a spot where he's drafting his third, that's something that could be here in a snap. I mean, you've tried the veterans, you've tried the rookies. The Bucs have tried so much. I know it's enticing to try and be like, this is the guy. We finally found him. He's going to be great for the next 8 years, you know, but it's just not realistic. You can't do that.
Right. I agree. All right, let's get to your new free agents. Ethan Posick from Seattle, guard/center. He's played both spots a little bit. You have him listed center here. Why Ethan Posick? So
the Bucs do not want to shuffle around their offensive line again. When we saw Ali Marpet get hurt and AQ Shipley goes down with a neck injury, all of a sudden you're slapping Ryan Jensen at left guard. You've got AQ Shipley playing center, and it's just a weird situation. And I think that you need someone in there. He's not going to back up for guard. He's not going to be the first backup for guard. You've got Josh Wells as your spot starter at tackle. You've got Aaron Stinney at your spot starters for guard. Posick is a guy who started 14 games for Seattle last year, but he's really not that good. He's, an average pass blocker. He's not a very good run blocker. He's basically a guy that we want him because we're going to get him for 1 year, really cheap, and he is someone who can snap the ball to Tom Brady if a center goes down, and that way we don't have to move Ali Marpet to center or try and figure something out. So he is a guy that's literally just an emergency center, because then you don't have to go, oh, well, who's played center? We got Ali Marpet, and he did it, and he struggled, but then you have to move him from left guard. He's literally just an emergency center. He's not going to be a backup guard, but he can do it if you have enough injuries. Just a guy that you can bring in as an emergency center, and really nothing more.
Yeah. Okay. All right. I agree with you. Not very good. That's the bottom line. But something that could happen. Matt brought in Ty Sombrello yesterday. I said, Matt, I don't know if you know this or not, but Ty Sombrello is bad. And he was like, I don't, but I could still see it happening. I was like, good point, because they signed Joe Haeg and he wasn't good either. So
yeah, my whole thing was like, yeah, he's bad, but like this is the one scenario in which he plays.
Right. He plays a lot of spots.
You need someone there. Yeah.
Right, he plays. Okay, Gerald McCoy. You have Gerald McCoy coming back. Talk to me about this. You and Mark Cook bringing Gerald McCoy back into this locker room, knowing what you know. Come on,
knowing what I know. I brought it up in jest on the podcast when I was on with you last time, and it was literally just a situation where I was going down, and I thought, you know what, I was trying to add some depth at defensive tackle, and Gerald McCoy, dude, I've never seen a fan base sour. I mean, I know, I definitely think some things you could say he was a little soft in what he said. He went on that first, not first take, but with Skip and Shannon when he left and all this, and fans want to call him soft and all that, but he's a good dude. He's a leader in the locker room. The players like him. He's a great dude in the community. I still think he's got some ball left. He spent a decade in a Bucs uniform playing worthless games with a worthless team. And
all right. So we got a bunch of people listening to the show right now. Let the people decide. Let's see. If you want Gerald McCoy back in the Bucs locker room, you give a thumbs up on the chat in the chat. If you don't want him back, give me the thumbs down. We'll tally him up as best we can while we're live on the air, and I'll give you guys a second to do it. A thumbs up for Gerald McCoy back with the Bucs. Thumbs down in the chat for Gerald McCoy if you don't want him around. So we'll see what the responses are that roll in. We got a thumbs down already. It's off to a great start, but
it was such
I'm actually curious to know. Like, I want to know.
I don't think so. It was such an ugly breakup. I think by that point, that's what I was going to say. I've never seen a guy who I think was so loved by the fan base for so long.
Wow.
We got a middle finger emoji. We got 8 thumbs down.
Yeah, no, he's too old. Middle finger. Eric calls. Thumbs down, thumbs down, thumbs down, thumbs down. Vomit face. How much does he cost? No. Hell no.
I had him down,
thumbs down, 1 year. Thumbs up. We had a thumbs up.
We had a thumbs up.
Where'd it go?
Look at how sour the relationship between Gerald McCoy and the Bucs fan base became. A guy you could not walk anywhere. Yeah, a lot. You could not walk around town without seeing an 83 jersey at one point, and look at how sour it's become.
Look, there's a couple thumbs up. Oh, thumbs down.
So because it's my battle plan and I can do what I want, I bring the guy who dealt with this and sat here for 10 years and lost and got his butt kicked to come back for 1 year on $2.5 million, be a rotational pass rusher. You're only putting him on every 2 or 3 third downs when you're just going to let the defense pin their ears back and go at him, because he's not good in run defense. He kind of plays out of scheme. He kind of hits gaps he wants, but he's got that fire get off that everybody's talked about his entire career. Screw it. When you have a situation where you're letting the whole defense go, pinning the ears back, sending 6 guys, put Gerald McCoy in there, let him use that get off, and let him get after the quarterback for 1 more year and try and make a run with this quarterback that he gave so much to for like 9 years. Screw it.
Wow. Guys got Taylor Jenkins route up on a Friday. I like it, but I agree with the fans.
It's never going to happen, and it probably shouldn't.
Yeah.
It probably
should. Probably shouldn't. He's probably not good.
Yeah, I even said in my battle plan, I was like, this probably won't happen. It's like really zero.
But you're the GM, dang it.
But it's my battle plan, and I'm going to do what I want.
I actually have a bigger problem with James White coming back here. What's up with this, man? Everybody's bringing back James White. I think me and Matt didn't bring back James White.
Yeah, I didn't want to bring James White back. I really didn't want to bring him here.
You gave in to peer pressure.
But it just kind of made sense to me. I think that he's a guy that you bring in, and if we get to my draft, I don't know. Do I give away my first round?
I don't know. I don't know if you're going to get a draft the way this is going. The fans are riled up right now. They want blood.
I have a phenomenal battle plan. It guarantees the Bucs a Super Bowl next year. If I was doing it, you're all wrong. But
actually, some people have said you have the Bucs. You have the best battle plan so far. So
see, they get it.
And Ty gave thumbs up. Ty T gave thumbs up to McCoy. He listens to all the shows, I think. So
yeah. So it was like, I don't know. Can I give away my first round pick?
I mean, you can. Yeah, you can. Okay. I'll pull it up here. So it's in conjunction. So Taylor signed James White in free agency, and then he drafted Najee Harris in the first round. Go ahead, Taylor.
Now, we see a lot of situations where guys come in and they just aren't ready to be a full-time guy as a running back in year one. The Bucs have been looking for a game-changing running back since, a few years with muscle hamster Doug Martin, where he was just running all over, the game. They've been looking for that game-changing running back. They wanted that to be Ronald Jones. They drafted him in the second round out of USC, and he never really translated that electric, explosive play that he had at USC to the NFL. Now he's gotten significantly better. He's gotten to the point where I think that he can be a reliable starter for the Bucs. He showed that this year. He nearly had 1,000 yards. He would have got there if it wasn't for the COVID list the last 2 weeks. But yeah, I think James White is a guy who you can bring in, be a real pass catching back, a real third down back. He's going to have a couple games where he has 7, 8, 9, 10 catches. You have Ronald Jones be the lead back, and then you have a situation like Jonathan Taylor this past year with the Colts. You have a situation like Cam Akers the last year with the Rams, where you don't bring in a high drafted rookie and put everything on his plate in week 1. I think that you bring in Najee Harris. I think he's a well-rounded back. He's a good runner. He can run between the tackles. He can run outside. He's a natural pass-catching back. But I don't want to put all of one aspect of the offense on his back in year 1. I mean,
what'd you sign our boy James White for?
1 year, $1 million.
1 year, $1 million. So dirt cheap. I mean, and that might be the case. Like
30 years old.
Yeah, he's 30. Right, he's going to be 30 or something like that. And
he's Tom Brady's buddy.
Yeah, but you're also talking about a year in which a guy like that, it's free agency at the least valuable position on the field. It just this year, I mean, I just don't know what kind of money you're going to expect to make in free agency this year at the running back position as a mid-tier guy who doesn't run the football, who catches the football. You know, I mean, and this is my problem with the James White signing. Y'all trust Ronald Jones more than I do. I don't think Ronald Jones is like your every down guy, and then James White is your, spell guys. Obviously you're taking Najee Harris in the first round, and we'll get to that for a second. But the Bucs are picking at 32. They can't count on taking a running back in the first round. They could be picking at 12, and then you'd be like, all right, pretty good chance we're going to get one of the top 3 backs in the draft at number 12. So we can draft a third down guy. But to me, I think you almost have to go into free agency and find a guy that can share the load, like they did with Leonard Fournette, but hopefully a guy who's better at pass catching.
Jamal Williams, that's interesting. Yeah, but you're paying him a little more money than Jamal. And I wasn't going to go and spend $3-4 million a year on a running back when I'm drafting Najee Harris, because I think at some point by week 8, week 10, week 12, week 14, Harris is picking up a little more slack. Now Jones isn't that first down back; he's splitting carries, and when you get into next year, the year after, Najee Harris takes the brunt. Then you figure out the rest of the running back position, but you say, okay, I've got one. And at 32, I mean, Clyde Edwards-Helaire was the number 1 running back. I know some years you have the Leonard Fournettes and you have a couple running backs taken, but then you also have years where Clyde Edwards-Helaire in a draft that I think was really good with running backs last year, go 32nd, and he's the first one off the board. So you could just as easily see Travis Etienne and Williams and Najee Harris all off the board, or you could see if Etienne or Najee Harris gets to 32, I don't necessarily like taking a running back in the first round, but when you have a team that has so few glaring needs and you're at 32, I think that's kind of one where you can go, all right, this is what we've wanted for so long. We missed on Jonathan Taylor last year. We wanted to get Antonio Gibson, and he got taken before we could take him. We're just going to go get our guy, and if they truly believe in him, you go at him. I know they liked Jonathan Taylor last year, and that stinks they couldn't get him, but you also got 2 game changers. You got Winfield Jr. and Tristan Wirfs. So it sucks you didn't get your guy, but you got a Super Bowl, and now you get a chance to.
Well, I mean, and remember, they liked Antonio Gibson too, so I think pass catching is really valuable. I don't know how I know that, they might have liked Jonathan Taylor, but again, and Jonathan Taylor did pass catch pretty well as a rookie. But it was also like, man, that was really valuable to them. I mean, Antonio Gibson wasn't even a full-time running back in college, and he hardly had, how many touches did he have his whole college career? Touches.
Dude, like 36.
It was crazy.
Like 36.
He
was a wide receiver at JUCO.
Right.
Yeah, he was a wide receiver at JUCO, and then went to Memphis, a little G5 RBU. And
in a lot of ways, he was the anti-Jonathan Taylor, and they loved him that much. He caught the ball, he played receiver. Jonathan Taylor, the big question, what can he do on passing downs? He had all the production. Gibson had none of the production, but he had the flashes and the talent and obviously the receiving ability. So they do value that a lot. Najee Harris brings that to the table in droves, dude. That's what I love about this dude. And I'm not saying Najee Harris is the upside to be RB1 in the NFL or anything like that, and you really want guys like that if you're taking guys in the first round. But what he can give you in the passing game, if you remember this team, I like that pick a lot. Again, I don't trust Ronald Jones that much. So if I was just signing a guy like James White in free agency, it would make me really scared about the running back position unless I was able to address it early in the draft. You're able to do that in your mock here. Let's talk about Ronnie Perkins in the second round. By the way, Ronnie Perkins had a pro day today. This was really disadvantageous for you because you had already published this when Ronnie Perkins' absolutely abysmal pro day happened today. And so I don't know whether it's going to do anything to his draft stock, and you have him in the second round, but what did you see from Ronnie Perkins? Why do you like him out of Oklahoma?
I think he's a guy that's got speed up field. I think he's a guy that's got good hands. I think he's got limited bend. But I think he's got good speed up field. He's got good hands. That's important things. And he won't have to be an every down edge rusher. I think he's a guy who can play that 5 technique with his hand in the dirt. I think he can play standing up. And I think that if you can groom him and you can bring him along and you can get him right, he can eventually step in for Pierre Paul, unless you have to find a replacement. And now you're just kind of going after, I think, high upside guys. That's kind of what I went out with Bobby Brown III. He's going to be your backup nose tackle. Yeah. I think he's going to essentially be a step up from Steve McClendon. He's built like an absolute brick something house. He's just an absolute monster. Now, granted, he's a first and second down guy because his pass rush almost solely consists of, I'm really big, I'm going to push up the middle, which is like a not as athletic version of Vita Vea's penetration. But he's a guy that you can, when you have to get Vita Vea off the field, he can put him in on first down. He can swallow up double teams. He's shown he can do that. He's a bit of a non-factor in a pass rush if you can develop that. And this is something that I think was really fun about this year's battle plan, is that usually the Bucs are so bad, we're going through and we're going, the Bucs need this, the Bucs need that, the Bucs need this, the Bucs need that. They need immediate, game changers in a lot of positions. Yeah. Whereas this draft, when I look down at guys like Ronnie Perkins, at guys like Bobby Brown, at guys like Wallow out of TCU, Marquez Stevenson, these are high upside guys, I think, that I can take a chance on. And you go, let's see what happens. Let's take them in. Let's, polish off those edges and see what they become. Get tools and let them flourish.
Interesting. All right. Well, for me, Perkins, I was interested in that pick. Then today at his pro day, 9.7 in the broad. Not great.
Yikes.
Typically, by the way, for people who don't know, I'll talk about this stuff a lot as the draft goes on, but broad, especially vertical to an extent, but broad jump, especially lower body explosiveness and twitch, ability to get off the ball quickly, and then also to be able to cover short distances pretty quickly and explosively. Huge concern of mine for Perkins on tape. I did not see very good burst off the ball, speed up the arc. Those were big questions. He did 9.7 broad. That's pretty sustained, or pretty confirmed the concerns that I saw on tape. 32-inch vert. Again, this guy was brought, I think he came in 252, 253, 32-inch vert. I think that's below average probably. I mean, it's okay. It's not the end of the world by itself, but 4.78 40, it did get adjusted maybe to 4.71. It's okay, but again, pro day, you're almost always adding at least a tenth. So 4.8 at 253 is not very good. 4.78 short shuttle or 20-yard shuttle, that's very not good. That did get updated to like a 4.69. Again, I don't know how much I trust these numbers or these updates. Yeah. Again, if the numbers are great at a pro day, I'm a little skeptical unless the tape showed me that wasn't an issue, then I don't care. If the numbers are bad at a pro day,
and they confirm what you saw,
dude, that's not good. And he didn't do the 3-cone. I actually thought he had decent bend on tape. You just didn't see it very often because he was so slow off the ball. But man, I'm telling you, when he didn't even run the 3-cone, I was like, all right, bro. So we have good production from Ronnie Perkins. We have a pretty bad athletic profile and what I thought was pretty average tape. Do you agree with you, though? 64 is a realistic. It may not be what you or I would pick, depending on who else was on the board, but it's a realistic pick, I think. And it's part of the job of assessing all this is that. So mentioned Bobby Brown briefly, a raw guy, needs to develop, first and second down player in year one. That's what you're looking for. And in the third round, remember, this isn't just the third round. This is pick 96 or something. So we're talking late first round. It's basically a fourth round pick the way if the Bucs, kind of sit pat in the draft.
Yeah, just absolute big guy. I kind of went with you and Scott on the East Carolina offensive tackle. Deontay Smith. I think he's long. I think he needs to put on some weight, but I think he's got good athleticism. I think he comes in, again, like I said, a project. That's going to be the same thing you see with Garrett Wallow coming next. It's a little bit of a project. But again, you are set at both tackle positions for the near future, especially in my battle plan because I extend Donovan Smith. And people are probably going to get mad at me in the chat for that. But here's the thing. I've been saying it since before the season. I said it last year. I don't care how much of a punching bag you think Donovan Smith is. When he's gone, chances are you're going to miss him unless you make a really nice upgrade. Right. Because left tackles don't come around that often, and left tackle is such an easy punching bag because they go up against elite edge rushers and they get beat, and then you take one play off and all of a sudden you're getting talked about for 2 weeks. But Donovan Smith has gotten better every season of his career. He's good in the run game. He made significant strides. I mean, I think this year personally. And when you look at his pressures given up, his sacks given up, he increases every year. It gets better.
Right.
And so it's really, really hard to find an above average left tackle. And I think that's what you've got in Donovan Smith. When you have that, you don't let it go. So I extend him for, I think I had 3 years for $42 million. That's $14 million per. That allows you to slide his cap hit down a little bit. And I know it's really rare in the NFL, but I thought something that allows you to keep Donovan Smith through your Super Bowl window and makes it more likely for him to resign is to give him a player option. Give him a player option in 2023 because you know the left tackle market is always going up. And it's only going to go up more as the salary cap bounces back and increases. So you sign him to a 3-year extension, give him $14 million per, get him through that Super Bowl window, kind of the 2022 year. And then in 2023, he has the option. Do I either stay here, take the $14 million per that I have over the next 2 years, or do I get out and go hit the free market?
Yeah, a couple ways to look at the Donovan Smith extension. I'm glad you kind of brought it up. You can look at it this way for Donovan Smith. He is about to be, I think he's going to be 28 and hit the free agent market probably after another good year. And maybe not as good as this year, maybe as good as this year, honestly. I mean, you're protecting for Brady. You know the ball's coming out quick. You know where he's going to be every snap. It just allows you to get comfortable as an offensive lineman. I'm not saying he's bad and Brady makes him look good. I'm just saying it's consistent. You don't ever have to worry about where Brady is in the pocket for the most part. Almost every snap of the season, Brady's in the same place. Look, you can look at any of the next gen stats charts. He's in the same place all the time. So it allows you, that was never the case with Jameis. Everybody knows. I mean, so that made life harder. I'm not saying Donovan Smith was fully to blame or Jameis was fully to blame. I'm just saying it makes life more difficult when you cannot establish you do the same motion every time and you get to the same place every time and every play goes the same way. It's a little bit easier to start getting consistency. And he found that toward the end of the year. So again, probably comes off a strong year, hits free agent market. Left tackle, man, I mean, he's going to make bank. He's
going to make a lot of money.
Exactly right.
If the Bucs don't pay him, someone's going to.
If you're the Bucs and you want to keep him from getting in that situation, you might want to pay him now. If you are the Bucs and you say, you know what, he can get to that situation, somebody else probably going to pay him more than we are, that's fine. We'll replace him. That's the guy we have to replace. We'd rather re-sign Carlton Davis. I would rather re-sign Carlton Davis. You can do both, great. But like Donovan Smith, Alex Kappa, those are the guys, we extend Jensen. Those are the guys you got to replace. Those two. You got to be ready to replace them. And then with this year's draft and next year's offseason /draft. So maybe that's the way they look at it. And honestly, that probably wouldn't be a bad way to look at it. Brady's release time, the fact that he's helped left tackles, basically have great seasons for a while. This is clearly a track record but you also want to protect him. You got to protect him. You can't have a guy that's getting beat like a drum. So it's a lot to bank on. So anyway, they have their options for Donovan Smith. It's like, if the Bucs want to extend me now, I think they're going to have to make me a really good offer because he doesn't want to hit free agency at 30 or 31 with a 2-year extension. Yeah. He wants to hit it after this season. That's where he wants to hit it. So if they want to keep him around, I think it's going to have to be like a 4-year deal or at least a 3-year deal, like just maybe a 4-year deal to basically finish out the prime of his career. It's his last big window to get paid.
I think that what I did was with the player option. I think that's what I think is a negotiation. You see it a lot in stuff like the NBA. You don't see it a lot in the NFL because it gives so little leverage to teams. Mm-hmm. But Donovan Smith, after 2022, that's 2 more seasons probably with Tom Brady that are probably good years. And then
so it'd be like a 1-year extension after 2022. You mean after 2023?
After 2022, going into the 2023 offseason, he can now choose, do I want to hit the open market now? Because that gives you 2 more years with Tom Brady. You're probably going to have decent seasons with him because you expect Tom Brady's probably going to be here in 21 and 22 at minimum. And then after that, he's either got 2 more years he can stay through 23 and 24, or he can get out and go hit the open market.
Wow. Okay. All right. I respect
so
it.
I thought that's kind of the thing.
One way to look at it. Yeah. And Deontay Smith would have plenty of time to develop in this scenario too. Yeah. And he needs it. But he's talented for sure. Well, you mentioned Wallow quickly. Let's go to the 7th round. Wide receiver Marquez Stevenson from Houston and Indiana safety Jamar Johnson. What do you see in these guys? What do you like about them in the 7th?
Marquez Stevenson, we didn't do comp picks. I would have had him as my 6th round comp pick. He's had some injury history. He had an ankle injury, I think, in 2022. Another injury his freshman year. But, I mean, this guy is just a bolt of lightning. And the Bucs have really kind of struck gold the last 2 years late in the draft. When they drafted Scotty Miller, in the 6th round out of Bowling Green, I said, who the hell is this 5'9", 145-pound, blonde kid that looks like he's hanging out at the skate park on weekends? What are you doing? And now all of a sudden, he's making incredible catches against the Raiders, and he's streaking down the field against Kevin King against the Green Bay Packers. And then last year they go out and it's really deep wide receiver class, and you're able to luck into getting an unbelievable player in Tyler Johnson, and he can probably slide in if you lose Antonio Brown and be that wide receiver 3. I know you like to call him mini Chris Godwin, kind of the same body style, a little bit of the same play style. And this year I think that a guy that they can get something special out of late is Marquez Stevenson. He's an absolute bolt of lightning on the field. And obviously getting him that late, you've got question marks. His route running, I think, is a question mark. His injury history is a little bit of a question mark. But with the ball in his hands in space, he's fast enough to run past people. And when you get the ball in his hands in space, I mean, I kept wanting them to use Scotty Miller on jet motions, and things like that. But we just found out he wasn't good at it. We've seen Stevenson do that well. We've seen him, get a little bubble screen and take it all the way. He's just an absolute bolt of lightning. And really importantly, on kickoff returns, he had 34 attempts in his career and took 3 of them back for touchdowns. So I don't know what he can do on punts. I think he only took 3 or 4 in his career. But kickoffs, he immediately steps in and becomes an upgrade over Jaden Mickens. With those 3, he was an average of 26 yards per return. And then Jamar Johnson's just a guy that he's a late-round pick. He's out of Sarasota, former track guy. Kind of, pretty sure tackler, got some range. He had, I think, 3.5 tackles for loss and a sack. He also had 3 interceptions and a forced fumble this year. Just a kind of guy, a late round guy, does a little bit of everything, local kid. And I think he's the kind of guy that doesn't come in and start, but he's a guy that can come in and battle it out with Andrew Adams and Javon Hagan. And he's kind of in that class of, okay, we can kind of move him between free safety. We can move him between strong safety. And can he beat out somebody for the last spot on the depth chart and play special teams?
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, I think that those guys definitely sound like the types and the spots that Tampa Bay would be like thinking in those rounds. Remember, they haven't had a lot of success necessarily with 7th rounders, but I think that their ability to start to improve, hopefully, on that part of the process a little bit, but also to target special teams, target guys with one great trait. They might, Stevenson might not be the most well-rounded receiver, but if he can fly, those are the guys you take chances on at that point in the draft. And, Mickens, we know about with his arrest yesterday or his arrest last weekend, his future is uncertain. So getting a return option in the draft, I think it's definitely something that'll be on their radar, especially if Antonio Brown's not back, Kenyon Barner's not back. Some of those types of guys aren't back. It's something that they're going to be looking for sure. Okay, for people who don't know, next week we will be live at 8 p.m. Eastern, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, 8 p.m. Eastern. It will be at night because there will be free agency action. Remember, Monday, tampering period opens at 4 p.m. when we normally be live. So instead of 4 p.m., we'll be live at 8 p.m. We'll talk about the moves of the day and the things that have gone down during the day, and probably we'll have some breaking news to tackle on the air the way these things have gone. Tuesday, same thing. Will be 8 p.m. Wednesday, free agency officially opens. It's not the tampering period, but we already will know a lot of the deals that are going to go down. Free agency officially opens. Guys can officially sign Wednesday at 4 p.m. So at Wednesday night at 8 p.m., we'll be live and we'll break it all down, assess everything. Same thing for Thursday night. We'll wrap up our week on the podcast, at least next week on Thursday night, breaking down things that happen. And make sure you're following us on Locker Room. Download the Locker Room app. Follow Pewter Report. And you can, if something happens quick and we don't have a show right away and it's a big deal, Shaq Barrett, big contract, we'll jump in there, maybe give you a little chat, talk about things a little bit, how it affects the landscape, so on and so forth. So make sure you're following us on there as well. As always, thanks for another great week and another great edition of the Pewter Report podcast. Out.